So, a topic today, alcohol. What's your relationship with it? Is it something you just enjoy? Is it a bit of a crutch? Is it something that is a reward for a hard day's work? Is it a reward for a bad day's work? Or just a habit as you're leaning for the fridge? Or that one more beer just at the end of a day? It's a topic that's probably not discussed as much as it perhaps should be, and something that I think only becomes an issue in society when we've gone a bit too far, that we start to address our relationship with alcohol. But we want to try and do something about that today with the guests that we're chatting to. Drinkaware suggests that it's 56% of men report drinking alcohol once a week, 6% report drinking alcohol every day. Where are you on that metric? If you were challenged to drink less or for drink nothing for up to 30 days, could you do it? I mean, when I asked myself that when prepping for this interview, I thought, yeah, of course I could. But then hang on, it's my birthday next week, or it's someone's party next week, or it's someone's 40th next week. So there's always something to say yes to. Is it a challenge that you could realistically do? My guest today has removed alcohol from his life. We're going to figure out why, the journey to it, how difficult it was. And he's on a mission to help other people, I guess, address their relationship with alcohol, remove alcohol, certainly manage it better, so it doesn't become a problem that has everlasting damage on our lives and relationships. Keith Cronin from Alcohol-Free Living. Say hello, give us an introduction. Who are you and what do you do?
Well, thank you so much for the introduction, Rob. And you've addressed so many of the kind of topics, issues, and reasons as to maybe why men either want to take a break from alcohol or to at least realign their relationship with it. No, thank you. So Keith Cronin, Alcohol-Free Living. That's the name that we go by. And that's the space where I'm in at now, where I'm looking to work with men to reshape their relationship with alcohol, to definitely take that initial break from alcohol and just to kind of create that space, and then they can make that longer judgment on what they would like to do. But look, that's where I'm at now, having seen and felt and lived the benefits of living alcohol free. I don't want it to sound like a kind of a cult that I'm trying to go around pulling people into, but I felt the benefits. I feel the benefits every day. My family, my relationships are richer. So I think it's only fair that if people want to hear that message, that it's something that I'd like to share with them.
Brilliant. And if you don't mind, I'd like to sort of dig into your journey to where you are now. I mean, what was your relationship with alcohol? What made you make that change? Just to hear what connections we have.
Definitely. It's you know what, I know that that's an important question, and I've often thought about, is my story is it as hard hitting as possible, compared to some other people. I see some people's stories and they were on the brink of losing everything, maybe losing their lives. And I wasn't at that point where there was a cliff that I was going to fall off. But you know what? And we can break this down a little bit. I probably was on a scale, a sliding scale, where I could lose everything. And it was only that I kind of seen that, and I had a bit of a forward projection. I was like, gosh, that's actually a scary place to be. So essentially, where I'm at now, Rob, I'm coming up to being 2 years completely alcohol free, and to the point where I can confidently say I don't ever envisage where I would drink alcohol again. And I was really very reticent to say that originally when I was in my first kind of 6 months and 12 months. And I was like, why don't I just say it? I was always kind of saying like, well, I'll see how things go, or you never know. And I get it. You do never know. You can never tell the future. But I'm confidently saying, sat here, that I don't ever think or can ever even envisage why I would want to go back. So just to kind of give you a bit more of a picture to that, I was on this merry-go-round for about the last previous 4 years to this, of stringing some periods of sobriety together 3 months, 6 months, 9 months even. And you think 9 months, God, that's a long time. But I kept coming back to alcohol. Alcohol kept coming back to me. I would tell myself a story. It'll be different this time. It'll change. I'll change my drink. That's it. That's it. I change how I drink and change what I drink. It was alcohol. So alcohol was the constant. Alcohol was always the central pivot. And I just kept coming back to the point that it just wasn't working for me, Rob. It was it ultimately was taking more from me. So I'd have the session, the blowout, the meet up with the lads, the day of the races, the day of the football that leads to a full night out. And it just always brought me back to the same place where I felt awful the next day. I started to have those feelings of regret, remorse, then, God forbid, the hangovers. And you're of a similar age to me, Rob. And them hangovers
now.
they become... So they literally became like to the point where even on the night, so as the night was happening, I was then starting to project through to the next day going, it's coming. I know it's going to happen. So it was really impeaching on the night because when you're younger, you don't even think about tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. You're on a runaway train. So then I started to think about it, and then there was the days after. 2 days recovery, 3 days recovery, 4, 5 days where I don't even feel like myself, feeling depressed, eating crap food, not working out, not exercising, not being available to my kids, not all these things. For what? For that Friday night, for that Saturday session. So I suppose there was only so many times that could happen before I kind of flipped it, and that kind of ratio flipped over to go, actually, I just realized I probably need to be honest with myself and say it's not going to work. It wasn't going to work for me. That was where we got to.
Was it you, Keith, that made that decision, or did someone else tell you or encourage you to make that decision? Were you strong enough, aware enough of your own decision to make that, or did someone have to impact that on you?
Yeah, it's a great question. And some people can kind of come to the realization where they're like, okay, I need to stop drinking, or I'm going to lose my marriage, I'm going to lose my business, I'm going to lose access to my children. And that's okay if that's what brings you to this point. You have to want to do it for yourself. And it's the first thing I say to any guys that kind of reach out, or we have that initial conversation, and they'll say, oh, I need to give up drinking for my wife. And I don't want to say I interrupt them and stop them, but I kind of say, no, it's for you. It's you, because it's your responsibility and you're going to be doing it and you're the one going to benefit. Will that then have a secondary impact around, your wife, your relationships, your business, your company, your health? Yes, but it's about you. And so that's it. So no, it was me that came to it, because I'm a bloody stubborn person, Rob, and I do things the hard way, and I've learned that. But it was good because I came to the realization, albeit taking me bloody years and lots of pain and anguish in the middle of it. I believe me, it's not a rosy story. But because I've then come to that point, that's what probably now makes me strong to continue. And it's not that, because if it is someone else forcing you, let's just flip it up. Imagine we said me and you say we want to get fit and healthy, and someone forces you to go to the gym. You'll do it for a sustained period, but you won't keep that going. Yeah. Whereas if you come to a point where you say, I want to go to the gym, I want to make these changes, I'm going to go 3 times a week, you're more likely to stick to it because you've come to that realization.
Yeah, you're very right. And I think we'll probably touch on that sort of purpose and that why and that motivation as we go around the chat today. And I think there's a couple of things around. I wanted to know why you work specifically with men. What issues do you see there? And I guess it ties into one of the questions I want to ask around what stereotypes exist around alcohol in a social setting. If I'm to say no, which goes back to the almost the why, I guess. If I say I'm not doing the alcohol thing anymore, that's going to challenge people's social settings, isn't it? So what stigmas and stereotypes exist that you notice?
Yeah, 100%. Let me just address why I work with men, and that again is being kind of asked of me, and it's a fair question. So the reason why I work with men only, I suppose a lot of it started with me and my calling. Does that sound too corny? But what I'm good at, I suppose, what I'm good at. I work as a volunteer for a men's mental health charity as well, where we put on programs for football. But ultimately, the aim is to tackle the stigma around men's mental health, suicide, talking, opening up, being able to. And do you know what? I've noticed that I can do that. It was uncomfortable enough for me at first, but I like to ask those extra questions of men. So when I meet up with my buddies, instead of like, how are you? Okay, yeah, boom, let's have a drink. Yeah. How are you really like? And just ask that extra probing question, or how has work been, or has it been stressful for you? So I don't mind having those conversations, and I like to have those conversations, probably because I benefit from them as much as the person who's doing it. So I feel like I can do that with men, and we're so stubborn as men to talk, to not open up, to show vulnerability. We are so like that. We're like creatures of habit. So the fact that I don't mind pushing that envelope a little bit, and it's amazing the conversations that do come out, because people do want to talk. People do want to do it in the right settings. When you feel good and comfortable, they will do it. So that's what I identified. I enjoyed, what I was hopefully good at, and that kind of feedback I was getting from people. And the reason why I work with men, and this is by God not devaluing that alcohol can have a catastrophic event impact on women as well. The conversations that we have with the men about the behaviors that can come out when they are drinking, about how their thought process happens, about the stories that they tell themselves, about the lies that they come up with. I can empathize with that. I've either done it or said it or felt it, or at least I can challenge it. So I feel in a real strong position, in a confident position, to be able to have that real frank conversation with a man. And I always give the example of, sometimes I'll put my arm around you, and sometimes I'll kick him up the backside and call out the bullshit. So I suppose I find that I've got that confidence to do that when it comes to men. So that's why I work with men, and I'm sure there's some amazing people that work with women, because equally they need that help. Your kind of second part to that question, Rob, was around the stereotypes and about breaking from the norm. That's
interesting. What exists.
That is huge. That is the crutch. That is the barrier that often holds so many men back. What will my mates think? How will I tell them I'm not going to drink? How am I going to go to Bramall Lane and watch the Blades and not meet beforehand for a beer, and not get a beer at half time, and not do it? They just cannot conceive that they're going to go and do that. The good news is it's all possible, but it takes work. So I call it being a rebel. So essentially it's being a rebel, because you've got to move out from the crowd. You've got to move out of the pack. We're humans. We get confidence from being in the pack. That's an evolutionary thing, that once you stayed in the pack, you were safe, you were good, and that's where the middle line is. But when they come to a point where they say, I don't want to drink anymore, it's not good for me, it's not something I want to do, you're stepping outside of the pack. And it's such a scary thing to do initially. But I tell you what's more scarier, staying the exact same and losing everything. So that's why they've got to try and make that initial step to break out from the crowd. But it is possible, it really is.
And can't we just enjoy a beer, Keith? Is it not possible just to say, I have words at match, I'm going to have a couple of beers because I just enjoy it? Do we have to head for total abstinence, or is that what you champion? Is that the right way to go, in your opinion, or can we just enjoy a beer without it becoming a crutch?
The simple answer is yes. Of course you can, because we know that can happen. Sheffield United are playing at home this weekend, aren't they? They're at home. There'll be
there'll be countless pubs full, thousands of
There'll be
pints.
countless clubs there. So this is a really good example. Let's just take a category. Let's walk off the number of 10. It could be 100, it could be 1,000. Let's walk off 10. So 10 guys are going to go to that game tomorrow. They're going to go and they're going to have beers. Let's say half of them are going to have a few beers and meet with the buddies, maybe have one at the end, and go home. And they're home for 7 o'clock and like, how was the game? Great. Did you lose again? No. And they're home. Yeah. So they do that. Okay. Let's say, so that's 5 taken account for. Let's say 2 more. So the number 6 and 7, maybe 8, will then go on beyond it. They'll have some extra. They'll have the extra beers that they shouldn't have had. They won't cause a catastrophic impact on their lives or their family or whatever, but they overdo it. And instead of them getting home for 7 or 8 o'clock, they're out till midnight and they're in a taxi and they're on the way home, but they feel awful the next day. And we'll talk about the impact of that. And then there's the 2, call it the 10, 15, 20% guys who, no, they go beyond 10. They go along 12. They're in all sorts of bother till 3, 4 in the morning, and they're home. So these are the guys who are probably, it's having a catastrophic impact on their lives, on their families, and it's just not possible for them. So really, what you're talking about there is pretty much half of the people is probably having a real negative impact on it. So the 30% guys who just overdo a little bit, they ain't getting up in the morning, making breakfast for the kids. They ain't going to the gym or working out or just being available for the family. They're essentially they're in the doldrums. And then there's the other 20% that are like, they're no good, and they're probably pushing the boundaries beyond. So yes, some people can totally do it, but there is a big percentage of us that it's an issue for.
Yeah, and years ago, months ago, potentially, I've been dragged out by probably that 10% of people saying, stay out, we need to stay out. We need to stay out. It's like that hierarchy or the pack mentality thing, isn't it? Whoever leaves first is the weakest almost. And
yes.
There is a real stigma around that. And I wonder, is it as simple as a hierarchical thing? Is it innocent, stay out because we can? Like the shackles have been released, or are we hiding something? What are you seeing men are hiding? What is the dependence on alcohol? What do we need to wear this mask for? What's happening with that?
Ultimately, I think it's because we're looking for distraction. We're looking for that kind of dopamine here. We're looking for that feel-good factor, and because alcohol is the drug of choice, alcohol is the go-to thing that we do in the UK, in Ireland. It's like it's just everywhere. It's just so common. If you lived in a different culture, in a different place, then alcohol wouldn't be the go-to thing. But it's absolutely ingrained in our DNA. I grew up in Ireland, and it's synonymous with Ireland. If you say Ireland to people, they think beer, alcohol, Guinness, weekends, stag parties, everything. Clearly part of our identity. So to be a proud Irishman, you need to be good at drinking. And by God, I played up to that. Absolutely. Nearly like a badge of honor. So to then be flipping that on its head, I've got another good friend that lives in Sheffield, and there's 2 of us now that are 2 Irish people who are sober, and we enjoy doing different things. That messes up with people's head because we don't fit into their stereotype. We don't fit into their narrative of, oh no, you should be doing this, this, and that, and you should be the one out to the end of the night. So it's people's perception of it. When you talk about, do we stay out to the longest? Or often we all have little groups of men, don't we? And we all have little roles within that. And there's the biggest drinker, there's the loudest one, there's the quiet guy, there's the one who tells the jokes. But we all end up just kind of reverting back to really like being a younger self, like especially when we're drinking. It's like, yeah, we can stay out. Yeah, we can do this. Yeah, I can drink the way I used to. We can't. We evolve. Things change. And what you did in your 20s and 30s, if you continue to do that going into our middle years, it causes havoc in our lives, and often our friend, should we say, who's the loudest around that, Often he's the one who might.
It's the loudest cry for help, potentially.
Yeah. And you're holding up that mirror. We're holding up that mirror sometimes to say, do you know what? I might not want to do this as much or as often, or I might even try and change a little bit. And that can be where the friction starts.
Do you notice, Keith? I mean, you mentioned like people go crazy in their 20s and early 30s. What type of person is coming to you? Is it someone who is, to make a point, down and out? Have they gone too far?
Yeah.
Are they coming to you quietly because they think they want to change? You work with men, great. Is it men in their mid-30s that you're seeing this problem occur, or early risks? Or is it men in their 20s or even their late teens? Are they coming to you? What's a typical man coming to you look like?
Yeah. So before I start doing this, I thought it would all be a similar kind of demographic to myself. So men in their probably late 30s, early 40s, who are hitting that kind of midlife phase. They might have some, kids. They might just be in that. And look, that is a type of man, but it's not. It's been right across the spectrum, from guys in their late 20s to guys in the late 40s. So look, we're talking about two different generations there. Do you know what was the common theme, Rob? That alcohol was having a negative impact on their lives. For some guys, that negative impact was that it was impinging on them going to the gym on a regular basis, and they weren't hitting their fitness goals. Well, me and you might turn around and go, "What whippity do, mate? Is that it? Is that all? Is that all you've got to worry about? Try running a business. Try having 3 kids on the go and a dog But you know what? It was stopping them being their best version for what they wanted to do. And then let's go to the other end of the spectrum, where we've got a guy whose marriage is on the rocks, a guy who, if he continues to drink, he could lose his business. That doesn't devalue someone who wants to be their best version. But this guy down this end of the spectrum knows equally alcohol is causing chaos in his life. If he continues to consume booze on that regular basis, then he could lose it all. So yeah, there's a broader spectrum, but the common thing is that alcohol was negatively impacting on their lives, and they wanted to change. They have to be fed up. They have to want to have change, because if they turned up to me and said, I drink once a week, I go to football, I have 3 beers with my mates, I'd be challenging them, going, there's got to be more there. There's got to be something more, because when it gets difficult, when it gets testing, when you're really getting challenged, you've got to be able to lean on something. And that's one of the powerful drivers that I try to work out with the guys. Why do you really want to do this, and what will be the big benefits?
Interesting. And there's a lot of what I'm seeing a commonality for people either work with you, your own story is there's a lot of self-awareness. I've realized that. I realized that. There might be a lot of blokes out there who don't know what that self-awareness looks like, or they don't know how to start thinking differently, and they're stuck as part of that society stigma. Is there a way that we as society can assess ourselves to help identify warning signs you might have a problem, so it shows up for us rather than having to be mentally? Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I know exactly what you mean. It's you can ask yourself a couple of questions. So are you happy with kind of where you're at now? And I kind of talk about the big pillars in our life. So are you happy with where your health is? Are you happy with where your relationships are? So, your professional relationships, your relationship with your partner, or your wife, or your husband. Are you happy with professionally? Because we could be successful in different pillars of our life, different aspects. So you might be someone who's a fitness fanatic and you're doing triathlons to beat the band. Your marriage is in chaos. That's not a healthy version. Nobody wants that to be a healthy version. And often one could be because of the other. Equally, you could be fantastically successful professionally, whatever that looks like, but whatever you judge that by, but your health has come at an absolute cost. And what is the point of having a successful professional life, if you die in your 50s from a heart attack. So there's different aspects of what's a well-rounded. So ask yourself those questions, and if one of those areas is not where you would feel, you know what, I'm happy about it, then maybe ask yourself why. And when you ask yourself why, I think you can come back to alcohol being such a common driver for why not. And my question often is, what would it look like if you gave up alcohol for 30 days or for 60 days? And that might sound like a mountain, or it might sound like, hey, yeah, I'll give that a go, actually, 30 days. Tell me one area of your life that wouldn't benefit from taking that break, you know. So you will start to sleep better, you will start to have more energy, you will start to feel physically more alert, you'll start to think clearer. You know, we know the science tells us all of this. So when they take themselves out of that picture for maybe, say, just even 30 days, a month, at least then they can maybe see what alcohol might have been having an impact on them. And I suppose that's a good way to do it. So if it's not screaming at you, like, you know, some guys were like, oh my God, I'm in chaos. And they're in that, you know, middle lane drinkers, if you want to call it. And so many people are that. It's like, what version could you be of yourself, maybe, if you removed alcohol for a short period of time?
It's a good challenge, isn't it? But there is still exist, and I know you're trying to break the boundaries of that, about people doing this in secret. And I just wonder if people are coming to you on the quiet to sort of inquire, just to know, but don't tell anyone. I want to have a chat, but don't tell anyone. And so I guess that's the first part of the question. Are people coming to you in secret? What stigmas are they afraid of? And what more can be done to break down and normalize that conversation? It'd be interesting to know your thoughts on
it is. And it's so interesting because I've had a few examples, and I can share them with you of so guys messaging me, say, from my own network, maybe my own friendship, or guys I've known, and they've either said, look, I'm doing this myself, or I've seen what you're doing, I'm actually giving it a go myself. I'm like, amazing, this is class. I'm like, do you fancy you know, sharing your story, or do you want to tell other people? Oh no. It's like, oh, you were just telling me how amazing you feel and how things are going successfully for you. Oh yeah, but I don't want to tell everyone else. And I think it's that stigma, because, will people think I was an alcoholic? That's a really powerful emotive word, the word alcoholic, and it pulls in so many connotations, mostly exclusively negative. So anything that's linked to alcohol, alcoholism, is seen as a negative, and so people don't want to see that they were forced into that, or that they were an alcoholic. So I think that is a huge thing, Rob, where people don't want to share that. Some people don't want to share that. Equally, some other guys have been absolutely buzzing to tell their story. And you know what? It's absolutely elevated them. It elevates them, like, from a professional sense of view as well. So many people have, like, gotten extra deals from it. They've created new connections, things that they were just not worried about. They were like, initially, oh, how would I tell people? How do I go and meet those customers? How do I go and host that conference that I go and do every month? How will I do that with alcohol? And then when they go and do it, they're like, wow, it was amazing. And so many people came up to me that were like, hey, I've heard what you're doing. It's cool, that story. And the benefits have come true. So there is a definite stigma that can be attached. Just a quick thing I'll share with you. So AA is obviously synonymous with alcohol, and you know, maybe the go-to if you're in help, if you need help, if you're really struggling, AA. Do you know I've looked this up, the success rates of AA, and this is by no means knocking AA. I'm just trying to give a picture. What would you say is the success rates of people that turn up and go to AA meetings?
What, who never drink again?
Yeah, who stay sober.
It's got to be. My instinct would be that it's going to be quite high, but I've got a feeling you're setting me up for a trap. I'm going to say it'd be about 60%, something like that.
So it's about 10 or 11%. So they say about 9%. So call it 10% of from people that turn up to AA. Now, and this is probably some of the benefits of maybe when someone reaches out to work with someone, and it can get really specific and individualized to them. AA is a program. AA is a set in stone program. And if you follow that program step by step, there is a pathway to success. But for some reason, 90% of people, for whatever reason, maybe they get forced into going to AA, or they go for some other reasons, or they go to appease their wife because they're told, look, if you don't do this now, okay, I'll go to AA. But they're not actually open to changing their heads, their mental space. They don't really not ready for it.
Which goes back to the why, I guess, that you mentioned.
There you go. Yeah. Whereas a guy comes to me, he might have been seeing something on social media, or he might have heard from someone else that's done the program, and he's like, I would like to do that. So he's already voting, saying, I would like to change. And that's a powerful paradigm shift in your head.
It's a huge shift, isn't it? And I think that just on the second part of the question around the awareness drive, how do we normalize this? Because I see people who have stopped drinking, and it's almost like they're going over the top to pronounce it like it's some achievement. We kind of almost need it to not be an achievement, don't we? It always just needs to be I just don't drink.
I know.
So it's a juxtaposition. Is that the right word? From
it is
championing.
I think it's
also normalizing.
It's losing its attractiveness. I think with younger people, maybe in their early 20s, I think it's losing that. I think if we're remembering what it was like, and most people kind of start drinking like I don't want to say illegally, but like behind the corners, isn't it? Or in the shadows, like, because it's like so inevitably that leads to your first time you got drunk, the first time you vomited, the first time you did something mad or dangerous when you were drunk. I think younger people, they don't want to get to that point where they're blackout drunk and they're not in control and they're vomiting. I think they see that for what it is, which is awful. Does that mean that they're not drinking? No, but they don't want to drink to excess. So what I do think it's starting to be called out a little bit more. People are starting to see alcohol for what it is. Is there still a whole generation? Of course it is. It's literally, it's ingrained in everything. We drink when we're happy. We drink to celebrate. We drink to cry. We drink to commiserate. We drink at a funeral. Whatever it is, you do it with alcohol. And I suppose it's that shift that actually you can do all of those things, but it doesn't have to be linked with alcohol, because ultimately who's getting more from alcohol? There's the whole alcohol industry, a billions pounds dollar industry that's just pushing this on us. And actually they don't care about your hopes, your dreams, your goals that you want to do, either physically or emotionally or personally or in your family. They don't actually care about that as long as you're consuming their product. That's what it is.
Do you think alcohol's the next cigarette?
Yeah, it's a great shout. Maybe, hopefully, possibly. Isn't it interesting? I was only looking at there was a conference on this week in politics, and they were announcing that they're literally trying to eradicate smoking, but literally to ban it, as in like you might not even be able to purchase cigarettes if you're maybe even before 20. Okay, great, but it's like people won't disagree with that. There will be some libertarians that will say, no, I should choose it. But the vast majority will go, I get it. Okay, yeah, it's naughty, it's wrong. But there wasn't too long a time ago where there was a whole industry built to try and sell and promote cigarettes. God, there was doctors, wasn't it, that were like paid off to kind of promote it. Alcohol's probably going through that now. And actually, if you take a zoom out and actually what causes more devastation in the UK, and I reckon alcohol's probably causing way more devastation than most drugs, for what it is, for the direct impact it has on individuals, but then on their lives, because you cannot function if alcohol has got a grip of you. That's the thing. It causes devastation.
Interesting perception, isn't it? Yeah, because I guess cigarettes primarily damage you, Whereas alcohol, I guess you're saying it always echoes out into other people through the 3-day hangover, the ignoring the kids, they're not getting home when you said you would. So it has more stakeholders, if you like, than just having a
100%.
cigarette. Interesting perception. Yeah.
I call it the ripple effect. So one of the things I give things different titles. I don't know if it's just to help me remember them or to make it a kind of a visual thing, because that's how I learn. But that's how I do it. And when I'm working with guys, so it's like we start to create our own little sub language. And the ripple effect is one of them things. And you've just described the ripple effect from a negative, but equally you can flip that and talk about the ripple effect from a positive. When you get your shit together, the ripple effects are huge. They're massive. It's so positive. And that can be the driver for keeping people on that straight and narrow, on that new journey that they go on. So I walk them through that first 30 or 60 day, that break where we kind of remove the alcohol out. But then I say, what do you want to do at the end of this period? When your relationships are really rich, when your family is saying, God, you've been amazing to be around, but I didn't know what you were like beforehand. When you're starting to exercise regularly, if that's something that you want to do, when you start to get your health in order and you're feeling physically better, you might have lost some weight because you're not having all these extra empty calories and you're not eating high sugary, fatty foods. Do all of that. And at the end of 60 days, tell me you want to go start back regularly drinking again. There's not many guys that would say that.
I like how you pulled me up on the ripple effect. I focus on it being a negative. I like the subtle flip on that around the positive ripple.
You're in it. You're in the program already. You don't even know it.
So yeah, listen, around. Let's say people listening to this now think, okay, cool, I get it. I want to dip my toe in. I want to have a go. I don't have a problem with alcohol, but it sounds intriguing. This positive ripple effect, I like it. What's a first step? How can we reduce or stop? For someone who's curious, what's the first step we can do ourselves? What can we do?
Yeah, this would bring me back to maybe more than 4 years ago, where I was just interested. Sober curious is the kind of phrase given to it. Do you know what I say? I say, just ask yourself, could you try and give it a go? Okay, because you have to learn from your mistakes. So say there was a guy watching this now and goes, great, I fancy doing that. I'm starting on Monday. And by Wednesday night, he goes to office drinks and he drinks on Wednesday night. He needs to understand, why did he make that mistake? You know, why did that happen again and again? So you learn actually from your mistakes. So don't ever think, if you try to give up alcohol for a period, and let's say you say, I'm giving it up for a month, and 2 weeks later you slip. Okay, don't be absolutely harsh on yourself. Learn what happened. Why was that? Was it because you were completely stressed and you didn't identify the stress that week? You know, there's a real learning part there, and then learn from it and move on again. The vast majority of guys, if they were watching this and they want to do it, I say, you can do this. You don't even need to hire a coach. And that might sound silly for me to say. You can go and do it yourself. I'll put a link into this, Rob, of my 10 top tips for going to do it yourself. Okay, so some real fundamental things that you can do, like that, make it sound about getting alcohol out of your visual cue, replacing your drinks at home with something else, giving yourself a fresh thing to do on a Saturday morning to reward yourself for a Friday night of being sober. All the different things and tactics you can do to kind of stack up the stack in your favor of what you do want to do. So I would say, please try and give it a go. No one ever regrets being sober. That's the key.
Yeah, it's you make a compelling argument, that's for sure. And in terms of the sort of wider steps, the bigger steps, those wanting to take it more seriously and that might need that bit more help. How do you support that? How do others in this space support that? And how important is like accountability in this? That sounding board. Where do you fit in that picture?
Yeah, it's huge. So there's obviously that next layer of assistance, and that's probably where a coach, and I hate the word life coach. It makes it sound like you've cracked life and you're there. It's like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to come up with another word. But at the moment, let's just call it someone who's there to support you and in a coaching capacity. That can be the level that some men definitely need, because they are either maybe so ingrained in their behaviors or because they are such a habitual thing. But this is not forever. You're not hiring a coach for the rest of your life. You're hiring a coach for this kind of intensive care part of it. So if you take a 60-day program, I call it like the first few weeks are a bit like we're in intensive care, and we just need to not drink, not booze. So that might mean you have to stop going to certain events. It might mean that you're going to have to miss that regular Saturday football booze fest that you have, or you completely make it a different event that time, because you just have to create the space. And then in weeks 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you can start to think about all the other stuff that you can start to layer in. How will you start to go back to the pub with the lads? How will you take your wife out for a nice meal and not have 2 bottles of wine? How do you start to shape it? Because you've got to be able to live life thereafter. You're not going to lock yourself away and just not be drinking and sitting in your house, because that sounds awful. So there's got to be a way to do it, and there is a way. You talk about the accountability. So we're it's Sober October, isn't it? And I've got a group of guys cracking on with that. That is powerful, Rob, when you see the dynamics of just having that accountability, either the one-to-one, but equally in a group setting where they're like, we're in this together. I know how you're feeling, and it's not just coming from me, because it can be sometimes a bit off-putting when the guy you're working with is 2 years or 4 years or just 6 years sober, whereas actually when there's someone else who's on this little journey with you and he's feeling crap on day 6 and he wants to crack open a can because he's had that awful day at work, and that's just what he did to relieve his stress. So having that group dynamic, that's really powerful. And there is groups out there to do that. Just some fantastic groups that you can just join for free, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram as well. And people can just get that. But it's the bit that I like is that it's quite a small, intimate, and they start to get to know each other. So they'll understand. They might never meet. A guy could be in London and a guy could be in Manchester, but they kind of know bits about each other and they're checking in on each other. That's a powerful thing to happen.
It is. And I think the lasting message, I guess, is it's not just you. If someone out there is thinking, it's just me, I need to do this in secret, kind of not that anymore. Like, it is okay to go after this. There's no stigmas. Well, there are stigmas, but it's a challenge, but there are others doing it, and it's becoming more normal. And I think it's great that you're raising your head, raising your hand above it all, and helping people do that by sharing examples about your own journey. I think there's a real power in that. And if people did want to stay in touch with you, Keith, or find out more, or get hold of the top 10 DIY steps, where can we find you? How can we read your journey? Where do we do that?
Yeah, so I pretty much live on LinkedIn, and I'm sure we can attach that to that. Can we also? I'll put in this document in our notes. When this goes out, I'll definitely attach that in there, and also I'll have my website where you can come and visit the website, and there you can see a bit more about my journey, about my story, what kind of brought me to this point. To realize, I wasn't necessarily a raging alcoholic, but equally I wasn't someone who just had a drink, once a week. Most men fall into that 60-70% bracket where we just live in the middle. And they're the ones that actually could benefit from just making that change up. So come and have a look at the website. Come and have a look at those 10 top tips, because you could crack on yourself and give it a go as a challenge.
Brilliant. Listen, Keith, alcohol-free living, thank you so much. It's been a real eye-opening chat, and I'm hopeful there's a lot of help and support for those that are watching and listening. So thank you very much for your time, Keith. Really appreciate it. I'll continue watching your journey on LinkedIn, and hopefully we'll chat again soon.
Thank you so much, and good luck to all those men out there. You're all doing a fantastic job. Keep going.
Cheers, Keith. Take care.